Hi everybody, I'm here to talk today about surveillance and EMF transmission frequencies that are done through kinetics. If kinetics fall in the wrong hands, they can track you anywhere by the signature of your breath on a network that is uploaded. And a couple people, my first eyewitness that I showed you the other day, a couple other people have actually witnessed these frequencies happening in front of me. It sounded as if somebody was standing right next to us, or using even microphone surveillance equipment, illegal surveillance in my home. Let me tell you, if they are, and there's, that's illegal. Okay, it's just that simple. It's an illegal surveillance if they are. Well, my second eyewitness here, Mr. Faulkner, say hi.
Hi.
What did you see, Tony? You didn't see anything, but what did you hear exactly? Was it just like what I heard, a bunch of noises coming from nearby, but it didn't seem like it was coming from the apartments, did it?
It sounded like it was behind us, but there was nothing there behind us.
Right, and you're not really hypersensitive or anything like that. That would have to be either surveillance microphones or perhaps EMF wave frequencies that were meant to be received by me through the kinetic tracking, that signature of my breath. Now, how I found out I was kinetically tracked is I was walking one night, and I could hear EMF frequencies and transmissions, what these people refer to as transceivers. I could hear them, and I do not know if I'm bugged for sure. I really don't think I am. I think that this is just like the Kinetic apps on all Apple iPod technology. And they can actually, basically direct kinetic energy and sounds through EMF waves directed directly at you. So you are the only one that can hear them. Do you understand what I'm saying? So you're the only one that can hear these frequencies. Well, it just so happens other people on occasion can be hypersensitive in their hearing, or just notice things, or have different perception levels and these subliminal tactics to control the public. And Tony here happens to be one of them, no doubt. So you're definitely sure something was there. That was not my imagination. That was not your imagination, obviously, if we both mutually heard it.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was one fucked up night, that's for sure.
It was fucked up. It was absolutely
Two people
fucked
randomly arguing behind us, but when we turned around and looked, there was no one there.
Yeah, and it sounded like other people too. In fact, it even at one point sounded like a whole group of them laughing, didn't it? And then tagging.
That was the most fucked up part of it all.
Right. It started out with maybe just a couple people or a few people, and then the EMF frequencies increased, and yet it looked like the neighbors were pretty much at rest or something. It looked like definitely Scotty wasn't up and about, moving about. It didn't sound like kids, did it?
No.
It sounded like grown adults sending signals to me through the EMF frequency. There's no doubt that this stuff is happening. What happens is they try to get these people declared mentally deficient until they get eyewitnesses. And I've had several so far. Not all are willing to testify on camera. And I do understand that. And I would not force somebody to testify on camera who didn't want to. There's no doubt about it that this stuff is happening. I am a TI. I'm a targeted individual. I've had death threats on my life. I've had harassment through EMF frequency, and I am not alone. So many other people out there, so freaking many other people out there are experiencing the exact same thing. This is actually very distressing. I want to talk about impulse signals too, and superimposing, and some of the other lingo I've heard over these EMF frequency networks. Superimposing is where they stick a random image in your head and light it up inside your brain through an EMF app that is directed at you kinetically. Sometimes this is done directly through the system. It could be NSA, all kinds of groups, surveillance groups, illegal surveillance groups. It all depends if you're a targeted individual. Also, there's people that want to use this impulse signaling technology to control the minds of the public, I've heard, over these frequencies, and especially those that are TIs and targeted individuals. What makes you a targeted individual? Well, if you notice impulse signaling, if you start hearing the lingo over the EMF frequency, then you're definitely a targeted individual. And at that point, what they do is they send you impulse signals into your brain. They got a kinetic map app of the brain, and they can actually see if there's spikes in the brain. They can map your brain. Well, if this is done simultaneously at the same time with sending impulse signals, they can spike anything in there to read whatever it wants, you see. They can superimpose that vision, and then they can spike it. You know, and then at the same time that they superimpose, they can send an EMF frequency in your ear to get a desired result. You see what I'm saying? This is called falsifying evidence. And this is also how they get these people committed into mental institutions to say their brainwaves are erratic or whatever have you. And they also get them maybe incarcerated because their brainwave patterns are irregular and they're a threat to society, they say, because they're sending impulse signals in there. They just leave that part out and admit that in the evidence. That doesn't happen. You won't see that presented to the judge. They'll just show the spiking, you see. But what the judge is unaware of in these frame-up cases against targeted individuals where they get them committed, you know, they could actually get them incarcerated, okay, for example, superimposing. Okay, they send out a superimposed image into your brain through an impulse signal through EMF. Boom! All of a sudden you see a flash, and then that makes you think, what the fuck? And at the same time, boom, the EMF frequency hits your ear and they say, you're a bank robber, you're a purse snatcher, you're a rapist, whatever, you're a murderer, anything. Okay, and then all of a sudden, boom! It spikes on their meter, and then that's how they get a guilty conviction to frame you for a crime. More than likely what they do is actually just present the evidence of your brain mapping. Do you understand what I'm saying? They send the evidence of your brain mapping, and they show the spikes. They omit the impulse signaling that they're doing to get those spikes, and they actually show an erratic brain pattern that would prove that you are mentally deficient or a danger to society. They could have you commit it. Absolutely, this has happened to thousands of people already. This technology's been underway a long time. During the Ford administration, this was outlawed because this was something that Nixon come up with. The impulse signaling, all this technology, and now all of a sudden, you know, it's been in satellites for years, right? Now anybody can have this equipment. Absolutely anybody can buy this equipment. Anybody can get a Kinetic app for health, just like I presented on DeBaster Television, and actually use that Kinetic app and the brain mapping app to send this technology to make somebody appear to be a complete fucktard. Okay, unless that fucktard happens to have witnesses, several witnesses that will at least give audio testimony, and now I have two that were willing to give video. Thank you, Tony.
No problem.
Thank you for being so honest. You're a hell of a guy to come forward. That's a pretty weird experience for somebody that's not a TI to actually experience that. Now, Tony also knows, he's been informed that if I die, you know, there's a heart murmur impulse that they can actually tweak in people through these Kinetic apps and actually spike their heart to raise. That can also read on the Kinetic app to prove that this person is like extremely nervous or whatever. It's all a big farce, and it's all a bunch of bullshit. And Tony here happened to be witness to EMF frequencies probably for the first time in your life, wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
Have you ever heard EMF frequency directed through Kinetic equipment before?
No. Can't say I have.
Kinetics are the science of motion. Everything in the universe moves. The science of motion is an amazing thing. Now, you can get mobile applications to move illegally place surveillance equipment in your house that is activated through what they call heat signature. That means if you step on it, boom, that surveillance equipment kicks in automatically via a remote app. That is illegal surveillance. Your family could be being surveyed in their home through their walls with very minimal equipment. And your family may not even know that. Your whole family could be completely victim to voyeurism. There's many evil networks online that do voyeurism work. They'll hide cameras in the home when you're on vacation. They'll do all kinds of stuff. Now, another thing that they talk about often on these frequencies is tweaking of misperceptions or turning on your superstitious thinking. And that makes you, leery of the people around you. Not everybody's going to hear this kind of lingo over these EMF networks. But they will hear the subliminal stuff. That means why they superimpose a sorrowful image in your head. Boom. And at the same time, through that EMF frequency, go kill yourself. You'll barely hear it. But some people actually act on it. And some people think, God, I'm hearing voices in my head. I'm going crazy. The difference between a targeted individual and a schizophrenic is the people will hear it all the time if they're schizophrenic. They won't just hear it when they're breathing or walking a certain way. They won't just hear, that stuff. They'll hear, like, barely hear it. Just a whisper. Tony here is obviously one of the people that can hear those things. Thank you very much for another session of William the Bastard Reveals. Thanks for watching. I hope this was informative. Know that if I am institutionalized, framed, or killed, as I have received death threats, so as members of my family, I will absolutely appreciate it if you spread word. Thank you. And remember, you may meet other people just like me that are targeted individuals, and they really need your help and support.